Okay, a little early check-in with Orley Farm by Anthony Trollope, 1862 novel. Um, this is for chapters 41 to 45, where we're continuing uh, the mounting up for a legal battle where uh, Lady Lady Mason is probably going to get charged for fraud. Um, for having forged documents to make sure that her son, her infant son at the time, would inherit property. He is now in his 20s, and Dockrath, the lawyer who got kicked off some land that he had been allowed to use, dug up documents proving maybe otherwise, and that is kind of wending its way through. In this section, we get a whole thing about John Kennedy, who former beau of Dockrath's wife, probably the guy she should have actually married, an actual kind and generous fellow, versus Dockrath, who is kind of a money grubber, mean bastard. And she, he comes there because he is also one of the named witnesses to what's probably the bogus documents, and indeed sign something to that effect, so that then he'll be seen in court. Dockrath basically showing himself an asshole. The wife kind of showing, it's like, I kind of regret my choices, but this is what it is. It looks like John Kennedy's probably going to get married now to somebody else. We go into him a lot, which is like, okay, fine, okay. I was still pretty much detached. Actually, the interesting bit in this section, which actually kind of tweaks my interest again with Anthony Trollope, is that we have Lady Mason at Sir Pettigrew's place, and Sir Pettigrew, as we've said earlier, older gentleman, has decided to has proposed to Lady Mason, wants to put her under his protection because he really believes that she isn't innocent, and she has been kind of carefully gathering. In I can't help think in a certain amount of calculated way, even if that is kind of instinctual and kind of geared towards protecting your son. It's, she's still using sort of all her weapons of sort of feminine charm, and kind of getting guys to kind of Sir Pettigrew and Furnival, the lawyer, on her side. Indeed, sends a letter to Furnival, kind of explaining, this is what I've done. Oh, I'll come to you and talk to you about it. And it's like, oh, he kind of cornered me into it. He basically, I put myself under his protection almost as a child, and he's kind of not he's taken advantage, but he said, like, well, I'm going to marry you then. And it's like, I accepted because I did accept his protection. And she said, do you think I was wrong? It's like, yes, he thinks he's wrong. Maybe, possibly because he also has his own kind of reasons for it, but also maybe because he does think that Sir Percival is a little too strong and too blustering in how he puts forward his defense, whereas a lawyer would be a little bit cooler, a little bit more sharp on the thing. She goes back to Sir Percival and his daughter-in-law, who's the son had died, and they are actually great friends, this daughter-in-law and Lady Mason, and they truly seem like really good friends. And talks to her and says, like, I'm gonna tell him no. I'm gonna tell him no. And finally, when it comes to the scene, she does the thing, which is she confesses. She confesses that, yeah, no, I did forge the documents. And Trollope does the thing which is kind of surprising, and it actually is good. And it's like, and it's like, of course she is. Of course she is guilty. No one. I would have been telling my tale. I would have been telling my tale poorly if anyone thought that she wasn't guilty. Of course, she is guilty. But the chief thing here is how it affects Sir, kind of how it kind of affects Sir Percival in this, of this guy who has basically his natural instinct is always to be completely truthful, and that it's actually more focusing on him and his daughter-in-law and how they treat her, and actually they treat her with kind of humanity. They don't like absolve her, like, especially like Lady, it's Orm is the daughter-in-law. It's like she doesn't absolve her. She doesn't say, oh, what she did wasn't that bad. But they act kind of, I guess, with what you would call kind of Christian charity towards her, of they don't bash her around about it, but they're just kind to her, and not in a way that's like supporting her in, like, being false or anything like that. So I think I find that interesting. It's like one of these things of like Trollope's like, if it was a surprise to anyone, then I would be guilty of the kind of gross kind of character manipulation, kind of gross kind of surprise that a real lesser novelist would take. Of course she is guilty. This is all about a kind of psychological study of why she did it, and about the people around her and how they react to her guilt. And that, obviously from Sir Percival and his daughter-in-law's point of view, it's like, well, she's guilty. The land's going to have to go back to Joseph Mason, the older son who should have gotten the property, whether he's an asshole or not. It should go back to him. So they've got a pretty much an ethical viewpoint on this. But I have a feeling that we're going to find out that the law is got a much more technical and legalistic viewpoint on the matter, which might not be so cut and dry, and that maybe Lady Mason might still try and take advantage of for the sake of her son. And it makes it a little bit more interesting. Even still, I don't find that I have that much investment in Lady Mason, or even Sir Percival, and actually Lady Mrs. Orm, Mrs. Orm, the widow Orm. Actually, it's probably more interest in them, in that they're good people who found out that someone that they love and have trusted is actually not an ethical good person, and how they're going to react to that, and how they're going to comport themselves, and how they're going to go forward. So yeah, interesting. Trollope is never boring. Let's put it that way. All right, more videos later.